I can remember when AAA started to take off, especially the Great North League, and a lot of the people used to say that, for the midget, for example, that even if we had difficulty competing against the South on a AAA status, that there was it was important for the top players to be on a AAA team in order to draw the attention of scouts. Is this, does it change much? Like is it?
No, as a matter of fact, the midget age group is it's a tough one. Talk about decreasing numbers. Last year, we only had 7 midget teams in the whole Middle District League, whereas in past years we've had like 10 and 11 teams.
Is that an A and AA or?
That's correct.
Wow, 7.
Yeah.
7 rep team.
Right. So one of the things that we're looking at is, you know, and I'll be having some dialogue with Sundry Minor. Hopefully we're on the same page. Is to try and work on our minor midget program, because we feel, you know, to take it one step further, we feel very strongly that minor midget age players should be showcased on an all minor midget club playing in minor midget AAA tournaments. And you know yourself, I mean, if you talked about AAA a few minutes ago, how many scouts will want to come up to Northern Ontario to see 1 or 2 players, where we are showcasing our minor midgets on an all minor team competing at the minor midget AAA level, various tournaments across the province and even south of the border. I think those scouts would probably be more enticed to scouting the team rather than 2 or 3 players. Now, what this does for us in the minor midget program, and you know, you spoke with Derek Erickson the other day, and there's a minor midget team again this year that's being iced out of Coppercliff, and they managed to be accepted in quite a few minor midget AAA tournaments. And Nickel City Hockey has released quite a few players, and they will probably sign 8 of our minor midget kids. Now, our major midget AAA Suns was a very strong club last year, and they feel that it will be just as strong this year. By us having all these minor kids play on an all minor team, and they'll probably be playing in the Nickel District League against AA major midgets. You know, and again, it all work out. It'll be a very strong team, and they will develop. Last year's AA team saw quite a few kids being drafted, that minor midget club out of Coppercliff, and our hope is that you know, we have that opportunity again this year, and our hope is that and you know, moving forward, when I look at releasing these kids, I really debated initially, but we had some really good meetings with that group. They have some good coaching in place. They've got their budgets all put together. They've been accepted these tournaments. They've got a really good working plan, and we couldn't deny our kids the opportunity to play there. What it also does for our major midget club, it allows these minors to develop 1 additional year, because you know yourself, that minor player doesn't make that major team. What is that player going to do? A lot of times they may give up hockey, rep hockey altogether, perhaps just go play high school, because now they've, you know, I mean, this is what they've aspired to do right through their hockey careers. They've aspired to play at least at the AAA level. So if they don't make that jump as a first-year player, you know, it can be devastating. So the way we see it is that it allows our kids to mature one more year. The following year, they're now the 2nd year midget players. They have a better chance, better opportunities to make that club. Because again, this club this year, I believe they may turn over 2 or 3 kids. Otherwise, that team is intact, and they went far last year, won the league, and they feel they could repeat again this year.
So when you take a look at the major midgets, they're there for 2 years.
Major midgets, well, it comprises of a 3-year span now,
but
right?
if you're going to put the minor midgets on one team, you're more or less. Are you denying a minor midget from making the major team?
Absolutely
Versus
not. They have the
qualified?
choice. They have the choice. We had spring tryouts for our AAA teams, as I said earlier, and all of these teams had an opportunity to see these kids back in the spring. And should they want to keep any of them, they could have offered them letters of intent. These kids have the option. If they feel they can make the jump, by all means. But what it also does, it allows a second or third year player an opportunity to stay and improve that club. And you know yourself, a third year player that's gone through the system can be very effective. And you consider the size factor, the maturity factor. Those all come into play when you're icing a team. And I think it's for the benefit of all concerned.
We talked a lot about elite player development at the NCHA Summit, and to me, I guess the way the structure is set up, am I reading it right if I look at it that if the Nickel City Suns AAA midget club needs to bring up players, then the 8 players that you've released are their affiliates, or can they pull up anyone from the Coppercliff team?
The way it's going to work this year, because they're playing out of Coppercliff, those kids will be affiliated with the Sudbury Wolves Major and Midget AAA club.
So
all of them.
you won't be able to pull them up. So there's an observation from the outside that it would make sense that it's almost like these are your affiliated players and you're playing on one team for development.
And that's it. I mean, it's really we did this in good conscience. We realize that we lose them for 1 year, but because they're signed to a minor card, they will return to Nickel City Hockey and try out for that club next season. It gives the Sudbury Major Midgets an opportunity to affiliate with those players and call them up throughout the season. Definitely, it helps them in that regard. Moving forward, we're looking to next year. We've already discussed icing a minor midget AA team under the Suns, and I would think that we will be having some dialogue with Sudbury, and should it work out, you might see Sudbury release their minor midget elite players to Nickel City next season. So that is our plan, unless we feel that there's enough talent there to ice 2 teams, and that's very debatable at this point, I would say.
Well, you need 4 teams, so that would give you 2 teams.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, this year North Bay is planning to ice a minor midget team. Next year they might do so. I hear Manitoulin is planning on icing a minor midget team, and if you threw in maybe the Sioux, down the road, we definitely need a minor midget league. These kids will play in and develop and be showcased, be scouted. Really, that's the intent, is to give these kids the opportunity to play at even higher level, be it college, university, somewhere.
I imagine I would have loved to be at some of the board meetings where this discussion was going about let's say the Nickel City Suns not having access to kids that are going to be playing on their team the following year and having to compete against them during this season if they get pulled up.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine there were some discussions.
I imagine that.
Or on your board, I don't want to hear
Well,
it, but I imagine the discussion was there. And I'm going to go back to the way the discussions around coffee would have been 15, 20 years ago. The idea would have been, let's create our own AAA team so we don't lose them.
Right. And we have proposed to ice 2 minor midget teams in the district, Nickel City Hockey. One playing out of the east portion of the district, and the other one playing out of the west. One will be the AA club, and the other the A club. Should we have the numbers? It's still early. Midget age players haven't actually breaking down the door to and registered as of yet, but that's pretty much standard year after year. Midget age players still don't know what they want to do. They're probably talking to their buddies whether or not they're going to be playing high school, or if they want to play house or at the rep level. So we've tossed the idea around that perhaps if they didn't make the major club, they could play on a minor midget AA club, but in reality, because Sudbury had already put this program together, and we knew that, you know, we knew that they had all their ducks in a row with their tournaments lined up. We felt that it was best for our kids to give them the opportunity to go there and next year come back. Because in reality, I think those kids, they don't make a AAA team. I don't think they want to play AA. I think they want, if they can't play at the AAA level, they don't make it the jump at this stage of the game. This is their draft year.
Yeah, I think that's,
You know?
that's a point, I think that's a key point, that the major bantam AAA and the minor midget AAA are probably two of the critical years for anyone who's gonna go on into elite hockey, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
You have a second chance, I guess, at second-year midget, but not, it's sad to
It's a long
say
shot.
that when you're third-year midget, scouts are, unless you really have changed a lot over the summer,
Yeah.
scouts aren't paying attention to
no, you know, the odd one that will slip through the cracks, perhaps, but
you.
you're right. Your
you're
major,
not-
if you look at our major bottoms this year, it's going to be quite strong from what we see on the ice thus far, and what people from the outside looking in are telling us. It's every bit as good a team as they've seen in the last 5 or 10 years, and that will be the majority of our minor midget AA elite team moving forward next season. So, and again, we weren't quite prepared. You know, there was a lot of work that was been put together to get this off the ground, the new association, and that's just one aspect of it that we really didn't pay much attention to. Having said that, we also heard that Coppercliff had planned to put together another minor midget program this year, and we felt, well, if they want to do it this year, great. Next year, moving forward, we are doing it. We may do it as a standalone association, but I would like to, those are discussions that I'll be having with the president, Dennis Michelle, and the likes of those people next year.
Even with 8 minor midget caliber players, you're actually putting them in a situation where if they don't have the supporting cast, they're not gonna show well anyway in tournaments. Like places where the scouts are going, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, take Wayne Gretzky's wingers away from them.
Right.
You know, what he has shown off as well.
Right.
And so I guess it does make sense that, you know, because these players now are feeding 2 major AAA teams that are, and they basically have second and third year players, you split up the minor midgets and you're probably gonna be able to fill those 2 teams.
We would, you know, I mean, ideally, you're right, we talk about affiliation. Affiliation is so important, you know, and I'll just touch on that. I'll come back to affiliation in a minute, because that was also a big part of why Nickel City Hockey came about as well. It was to help our AAA teams, because they had no affiliation. And it would be, the ideal situation would be if you had a minor midget club playing under a separate umbrella, but being able to, kids registered in Sudbury would be affiliated with the Sudbury Major Midget AAA team, and those kids who reside in District 2 would be affiliated to the Major Midget AAA Suns. I mean, that would be the ideal, but unfortunately, that's for a whole other proposal to the NCHA, and I'm not sure if it could happen. Certainly not for this year, but perhaps for next year. It's something that we definitely need to look at. And again, if there are enough teams out there, might have the dialogue I've had with the Sioux, that they're not interested in the minor midget program yet. They say they're about 2 years away from it. They have their reasons for doing so. They say they'll need the numbers for the next couple of years, ice those major teams, but there's a crop coming through, and they figure that in 2 years' time, they'll be ready to look at a minor midget AAA program for the area. So getting back to the affiliation, in the last several years, I know you've been around hockey for a long time. You remember the Cobras, right? And you remember the Sabercats. Sabercats and Cobras basically merged, and they were now, they were called, today they're known as the Suns organization. And the Suns basically currently have, prior to this year, and even this year, have a major AAA Pee-wee, major AAA Bantam, major AAA Midget Club under the Suns. Because we now govern hockey, Nickel City Hockey, now governs rep hockey throughout the district. They have affiliates now. The midgets can draw from our minor midgets, our major midgets, AA and A. Major Bantams can draw from any given Bantam player within the association, so on and so forth. So it gives them a lot more kids to affiliate with, which is obviously a big, big plus.
So is this similar to the way the Lakers would have operated with Sudbury Minor?
Very, very similar, you're right. I mean, if you look at
Do they still have Lakers?
Sudbury, yeah, and even, you know, they could actually draw from house league players if they wanted to. If
They're
their
all
kids-
carded.
They're all carded, that's right.
Okay.
And we all sign the same cards, like, in years past, they used to recognize a house league player on a house league card and a rep player on a rep card. That's not the case anymore, they're all recognized under the same.
So they're gonna be moving all over the place
Yeah,
during the year.
so, you know, if, for example, if you were to have house league run under Nickel City Hockey, basically that's what you could do, is you could actually affiliate with house league players as well.
Okay.
Currently, you can't, because house league is run separately.
Might be a good time to explain how that relationship is. Let's take the Valley, for example. For rep hockey, you're playing on a AA team, a AA elite team for the Nickel City Hockey Association.
Right,
Where's your home rink?
it's a good question. And so back up a minute, because you mentioned house league. Valley East is the exception to the rule where you have two associations, one govern house league and the other governs rep. Everywhere else, they have one association that runs rep and house league. So Valley East is different. Matter of fact, moving forward, if we continue on with this, and I truly believe we will, because I don't see us going back now, Valley East Progressive will be abolished. Right now, we've taken a leave of absence, because again, it's a standalone association governing rep hockey for the last 30, 35 years. And moving forward, that association will cease to exist. Valley East Minor, who's still thriving, it's a growing community, as you know. So they'll have 650 plus players playing minor hockey in Valley East. So now those 150 players or so that played rep hockey have now been basically been thrown into the pool of players in Nickel City.
Been loaned to Nickel City for a year?
Per year.
Okay.
Per year. And
Okay, so then